Welcome to First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. I'm your host, James Gardner, certified athletic therapist, certified strength and conditioning specialist, yoga instructor, human being. This platform, for the pros, by the pros, anybody in the performance space, and beyond. Welcome here to share in the stories of professionals, experiences, journeys, learning along the way. It's a platform to connect, to network, and to be a part of a community that cares, with conversations that matter, experiences that resonate, and generate ideas, thought-provoking, organic dialogue, passionate pros. Brought to you as always by First Star Therapy, Mobility Tape, Epic, and Benchmark Athletics. In association with the Canadian Athletic Therapists Association. It's First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being a part of it. All right, so thank you very much for being here, everybody. This is session 38 of First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy round table brought to you by Mobility Tape, the only heat-activated kinesio tape. Our sponsor will be on here at the end of the month, so if anybody's tried that product or wants to try that product or ask questions about it, Jay and his crew will be on here at the end of the month to discuss that. Beyond that, let's get through the ground rules and then jump in, because we have a great panel here tonight from the CPL, some still in the bubble, some relieved from the bubble, but still in the bubble world, trying to make their way back into their realities at home. So really appreciate all of your time being on here, audience that's here live on Zoom, and everybody picking this up on podcast and YouTube after the fact. These are the conversations that drive our profession in the performance realm, the performance space, and it starts with amazing professionals giving their time and being willing to have conversations. So let me just go over the ground rules, and then we'll jump into the bios one at a time, let you guys say hello, and then let's see how these CPL handle the bubble and COVID and a pandemic and a bunch of soccer in a very short period of time. Ground rules: this is being recorded for the purposes of saving the world a few conversations at a time, and for all of those that couldn't make it here live, can go back in time, watch this thing on the archive, pick up some CEUs, anybody who's willing to. Again, for the month of September, we had a guest on last week who started a puck support foundation for mental health and addiction in the hockey world. Anybody joining the membership in the month of September, 10% of that membership will go to Brady and his foundation at Puck Support Foundation, and you'll get the benefit of helping that cause as well as the CEUs towards your provincial credential. So let's keep going there. So we are being recorded, so if you have any questions or concerns or questions that are directed towards myself or any of the panel members, please feel free to use the chat box or just unmute yourself and deliver. At the end of this thing, we'll have a few minutes where we can go live on questions. All right, so let's jump in here. We have 6 members from the CPL health and performance staff, 6 of the 8 teams represented, which is amazing, especially while this thing is still going on. We're about a month in. I think the first game was back August 13th, and here we are September 13th, a month later, and I'm sure some of you are still feeling the effects. If not, still going with it and going strong. So we'll start at the top, but we'll go alphabetically by last name. So Esteban Clavijo is with York 9 FC. He graduated from York University with a diploma in kinesiology and a certificate in athletic therapy. He's the athletic therapist for York 9 Football Club. He has a rich soccer resume. He's a head athletic therapist at ANB Soccer Academy for Vaughan League One men's team as well, where he's helped them, assisted them with 2 league titles back in 16 and 17, 2 Ontario Cups in 16 and 18. He's been a therapist for other sports such as field hockey, karate, and rugby, as well as working in a private practice. He is also an impressive, I added that part, and competitive runner with a marathon personal best of 2 hours, 32 minutes, and 30 seconds in 2019, as well as a winning team silver medal in cross country in 2016. Esteban, really appreciate you being here. I'll just let you say hi, and how long have you been back home for?
Hi, everybody. Thanks, James, for having me. I've been back home now for a week now. We got back on Monday of this week, so almost a week.
Nice. Appreciate you being on. Appreciate you giving us the time. It's tough times when you get knocked out a little earlier than anticipated as a therapist, as an athlete, and you and I talked on the phone and just kind of regulating your life again back outside the bubble. So we'll definitely talk about that as we move forward. Emily Coleman is with Forge FC. She graduated from the University of Ottawa in 2011 with a Bachelor of Science with honors in human kinetics. She then went to Sheridan, where she graduated with a degree in athletic therapy. Since then, she's become a certified athletic therapist and registered massage therapist. She's currently working with Forge FC in the CPL, currently in the bubble in Charlottetown, PEI, still going strong. A big victory yesterday, I think, and moving towards that championship potential. She's worked with many teams at the junior level before her time with Forge. Her team experiences include lacrosse, hockey, football, and rugby. And while working with the Forge, she also showcases her skills in the Burlington and Hamilton area at a couple of clinics. Emily, thank you so much for your time. And I know you're still going, so I'm sure you're I don't know, giving it your all on both ends. So taking the time out of this while you're still active and live in the bubble is amazing. So let's just say hi and then we'll move through.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So we'll get through that. And anybody who's, sorry, the dogs, always with the dogs. Anybody who's here and still following CPL football, soccer is still going on. The tournament is still very much at large. The championship's still coming strong. 4 teams remain in the bubble, and we have a few of those therapists on here tonight. So various therapists on here as well. So pardon the dogs, guys. This is life in COVID, and this bubble is like we can't get rid of dogs. So come over here and we'll deal with that. All right, so let's move on to Atletico Ottawa. Cristina Leornardelli she is a doctor of chiropractic, attended McMaster University where she completed a Bachelor of Science degree in kinesiology. During her time at Mac, she competed for the varsity women's soccer team for 5 years, where she was a team captain, 2-time OUA All-Star, and 3-time academic All-Canadian. She began the sports science residency program under the supervision of one of our former guests, Dr. Scott Howitt, and immediately upon her graduation from CMCC. She simultaneously began a master's in human kinetics at the University of Ottawa in the field of applied sports psychology, where she completed a number of coursework and practical internship requirements. Upon graduation from her master's in 2019, she earned the qualifications to become a mental performance consultant through the Canadian Sports Psychology Association. She does some mental performance consulting in private practice in addition to her chiropractic practice. Her research is in the area of sports psychology education for rehab professionals. Cristina, pleasure having you on. I think you made it back home. And did she get knocked out of here? She's still here. Cristina, are you still here?
Yeah.
Yeah, there she is. Awesome. Appreciate you being on. I know you guys got back to Ottawa and you're settling back into things. How long have you been home for?
I got back on Monday. It's been about a week. Yeah.
Okay. How's the transition going? Okay.
I haven't started back at work yet. That's tomorrow, so we'll see how that goes.
All right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Not easy to transition away from and then get back, I'm sure. So we'll touch on that. A lot of people getting ready to sort of, navigate that space, or the space without sport, or the space of, potentially returning here shortly. So Derek McLennan is our next guest. He's with Valour FC. He's the head athletic therapist for that football club in the CPL. Upon graduating from the University of Manitoba in the Faculty of Kinesiology and certifying as an athletic therapist, he went on to work with the Winnipeg Gold Eyes Baseball Club in 2016 and up until 2018, helping the team capture the 2016 and 17 American Association of Professional Baseball Championship. In 2019, he joined Valour FC as their head athletic therapist, and along the way, he's taught the basic trauma and life support course at the University of Manitoba, taught lab components of various other courses as well. He's in the midst of completing his MSc at the University of Manitoba with a focus on balance measures post-sport-related concussion. Derek, really appreciate you being on, man. I know we've touched base a few times by phone, never by face, so this is the first time. Welcome aboard. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, and we have some overlap as well. Another former guest, Dylan Carrero, the captain of Valour FC, one of the co-captains of Valour FC, was on in early June, early July, just before leaving for the bubble. So that's how we got connected there, and he spoke highly of you, as I'm sure all of your athletes do across the board, across this panel. We were talking just before everybody else got in here, before our live audience came in. This is amazing that you guys would take this time and take the time as a professional to leave your own life and go and dedicate yourself to your athletes. So if your organizations and your athletes haven't done it enough, I'll do it publicly here. I really appreciate you guys doing that and all the hard work that you put into this. It's not an easy life, and some people make it look super easy, and it feels super easy at times, but acknowledging the hard work and the effort that goes into committing to this thing in a bubble and in this time especially, let alone just being a professional in professional sports, working with athletes, it goes a long way. So that's Derek. We'll come around back to you, Derek. Appreciate your time, man. And we'll move over to the East Coast, the Halifax Wanderers therapist, Danielle McNally, who holds a bachelor's degree in kinesiology from Acadia University and her Master of Science in Physiotherapy from Dalhousie University. Along with her role as a lead physiotherapist with the Wanderers, she works at LifeMark Sport Medicine at the Canada Games Centre. She has extensive experience in high-level sport as a team physiotherapist for the U20 Rugby Canada women's team since 2018, as a physiotherapist with Softball Canada for selection and training camps, and has been named to the staff for the 2021 World Championships with the U18 Hockey Canada women's team. Danielle, really appreciate you. I know, appreciate you taking the time to be on here. You're still out there and still grinding it away out there in Charlottetown as well, right?
Yeah, we are. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And maybe we'll get into some of that overlap in terms of what's different sport to sport, because I think that's an interesting one. You have softball, which is obviously, field based, and then soccer, which is out in open space, and then hockey and the women's game in terms of, in a less, a more condensed space, smaller space to work upon, and some considerations maybe for those therapists that are on here, looking at what hockey might feel like and look like into the future too. So appreciate you taking the time, and especially, still being there and keeping the lights on, because it's a little bit later out there than it is here. So we'll get through this thing in an hour, as I mentioned, and you guys will be on your way hopefully to some sweet sleep tonight. Jamie Neill is with Pacific FC. She received her bachelor's in athletic therapy and exercise from Camosun College in Victoria, BC. She's worked with a multitude of different sports, primarily working in the university and professional sports setting. She's been with Pacific for the past 2 seasons, as well as working in a private practice at Victoria Sports Therapy. Jamie, hey, and how's it going? You all right?
Yeah, all good. Just enjoying the bubble life.
There it is, just remaining in the bubble, and this is where we're at. So 6 guests from across the CPL are joining us tonight, and we're going to jump right in here with Esteban. Let's go back to the top, man. You and I talked about sort of this adjustment at the other end. We'll start at the back end of this thing and work our way to the front end. Maybe it'll go that way. You left the bubble, leaving all the results aside. How's that transition been from being in a bubble and dedicating yourself to all of these athletes and everything that you need to do to help them be successful? What's it taken for you to be successful now that you have to cook your own meals and do those things on the other side?
Well, it's been a bit of an interesting adjustment once you got back. That you're so used to being in the bubble and having a schedule the whole day until like late hours of the night, and then now coming back home, like your schedule kind of condensed a little. It's been interesting for sure. Like when I decided to take like a week off of work just to try to settle down to life again, and then tomorrow is kind of my start into work again. So that'll be another adjustment to do. It's been different. I find myself waking up really early, so not really sleeping in anymore. So yeah, that's been big adjustment.
You got to add a little distance to your runs, maybe now. I don't know. Maybe just end up running
I was
across the country.
running on that treadmill for a whole month. So the first time I came here, got a run in, and it just felt completely weird.
Well, it's that Ontario air too, right? It's a little bit heavier over here. So
I don't know what it was, but it was very, very interesting.
Yeah, well, hey, listen, I think there's a piece of this that sometimes we overlook, and that's the care for us as well as practitioners and as therapists. And, just go easy with yourself and don't feel like you have to do everything getting back here. You're used to having a schedule all of a sudden packed in, jam-packed in, and some of us have that in us, that mentality to continue that as we get back here. So take your time, transition, go slow, do the things you want to do in this week off, and then build back slowly,
Yeah, that's the plan. So tomorrow we'll just start slowly and then work our way up.
Yeah, the therapist periodization model. That's it, exactly. So don't go too hard too early. Nice. Emily, you're still there with Forge, right? Things are going really, really well on that end in terms of the performance. How are you holding up with with the length and looking at things moving ahead? It's been a month, and you've been treating and doing all the things. How are you holding up while you're still there?
Holding up. I've got players bugging me, but kind of never ending. But it's good. It's good so far.
Yeah, nice. What does your day look like in terms of an off day? Like today you didn't play, so was it sort of like full on treatment, recovery, recuperation, these kinds of things on your end?
Yeah, so typically we had a game yesterday, so typically training today is just kind of fun games, recovery, split the groups up with the kind of the 11 that played majority of the time. They do more of a recovery session. The other ones do more of a full training session. And then basically just kind of treatments throughout the day. It was a little bit more relaxed because all of them wanted to watch football, but yeah.
Nice. Well, I hope you found a couple that are like willing to go and get your meals and bring them to you and wait on you a little bit as this thing gets longer, because I'm sure you've done a lot above and beyond, as most therapists do in this space. So really appreciate you taking the time, and if well, you got headphones in, but just repeat it maybe afterwards, like they should be taking care of you at this point for getting them this far and helping them along the way, extended schedule. So good on you, and congratulations on the success to date for the team, for yourself, all of these things. So Cristina is with Atletico Ottawa, a new team, right? An expansion team, Cristina, and a DC. So you're the only chiropractor on here, and I navigate this space quite fluidly. I feel like sharing the integrative space in terms of care and who's on the sideline and who's in a clinic and who's doing what. My idea is to blur the lines between practitioners so that there is no there's no hesitancy in referral. There's no hesitancy in terms of conversation and dialogue. Is that a common theme that you found in the bubble with these therapists? I know you guys didn't have a ton of overlap, and everybody had a different sort of team of practitioners with them, but is that common, like when you're in a bubble like this, to take on that kind of outlook?
Yeah, I mean, it was really great. I think for us in the bubble, we tried to get together with the group of therapists probably once a week, and I mean, social distance with our masks on, of course. But yeah, it was really nice to kind of bounce ideas off each other, and everyone has kind of a different perspective based on what they do with their team. And I, like, from my perspective, at Atletico, we have, so there's me as the lead therapist. Like you mentioned, I'm a DC, but we also have an athletic therapist and a strength and conditioning coach, and the three of us work super collaboratively, and we're always kind of bouncing ideas off each other, and it's really kind of that interdisciplinary environment that I think made it really successful for us. We came out with relatively few injuries somehow in this tournament style, which was interesting. But yeah, it was an awesome group that I think did really well for our players, because we kind of had very similar mindsets, but offered kind of a little bit of different skill set as well, which is great for our guys.
Awesome. I appreciate you taking the time, and you and I kind of crossed paths at one of the sports Chiro symposiums back a few years, which you reminded me. I don't think, that was a blur to me. I was just kind of a throw in because I knew Scott and I was working in baseball at the time. So, you've done your residency in the sports side of things, and now you're with a pro, an expansion team. Awesome, right? Like, and then you get this experience of the bubble, which is probably a little bit scary, a little bit nerve wracking, but pretty awesome that they put this together, kept it in Canada, kept it in-house, and then got to see the East Coast from your, I don't know, cell? Is it a cell? No, hotel room out in Charlottetown, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you being on. Let's jump over. Danielle, you're still there, right, with Halifax. The Halifax team's still going strong in the bubble. What were some of the successful, or are some of the successful components in terms of returning to play as a whole, like as a league? Were things done really well in terms of like personnel and athletes, maintaining the masks while they're inside, sanitary practices, education provided either by the league or by you guys for your teams? How did that work out inside the bubble, or is it working out inside the bubble?
So I think it's kind of been an interesting endeavor for the league and for the teams and for us as people, just because this is something that nobody's navigated before. And I think it was something that was kind of will we, like kind of waiting on all these things to fall into place. And then once we did, it was kind of let's go quickly. So I know for us at home in Nova Scotia, the cases were quite low. So when we kind of went through that phase one, 4 players allowed on the field at a time, and phase 2, where we were kind of then having more players in, that really allowed us to kind of just get used to it, you know what I mean? Showing up in masks and temperature taking and the kind of daily screenings and all that kind of stuff. So I think we kind of knew what to expect. Just from the players' perspective, they kind of knew what we were getting into, and just a lot of desire to do whatever it takes to play out a season. I think we saw in the CFL, those players aren't getting, and the staff aren't getting to play out their season. So it was kind of like whatever they ask, we're going to do that. And so it was a little bit of kind of that hurry up and wait for a while, and then it felt quite fast. So sometimes I think there were some things that were communicated quite quickly, or we just kind of got on arrival and that kind of stuff, and that was a bit of a juggle for all the therapists. But I don't think that that's that unusual and something that's not been navigated before. And I think all the therapists as a group were really great about how do we come together and fill in any gaps that we might be feeling. So after, I think, Calvary and Forge played the first game, the therapists were kind enough to get together with us and say, this is what it was like at the facility, and this is what we saw, and that kind of thing. So it was a pretty kind of open group to kind of help each other out where we could. And so I think it was kind of what I anticipated. Players were pretty easy about, wearing masks in all the places we had to wear masks, and, sanitizing and all that stuff, just because the desire to play was stronger than any kind of bother with what might be different than what we're used to.
Yeah, cool. And a great share. A couple points that, some of us may not navigate, right? Like, you're coming from the East Coast, and then you're comparing to somebody maybe from, I don't know, like Esteban's coming from a hotbed like metropolis of sort of the Toronto region, and it's wholly different, right? So there's phases and stages you got to get comfortable with and all that. And then again, like, there's no perfect way to do this. So you make the adjustments, you have a sort of a good solid foundation, and then you make the adjustments there. And that's awesome that there's good collaboration between, a game to game and professional to professional, or therapist to therapist. That's fantastic. Derek, how about you, man? How was the testing? Was there testing done in the bubble? How regular was it? And how did that go with you and your staff and the athletes for Valour FC?
Yeah, so testing wise, we had to do a couple tests before we went out there. And then once we were out there, as soon as we got in, the day we arrived, we had another test that day, and then another test a couple days later. And then after that point, it was tests weekly. So, you get used to having a cotton swab or a Q-tip, whatever you want to call it, shoved up your nose. But, kind of miss that feeling now.
I have a box of Q-tips. Give me your address. I'll send it to you.
Oh, perfect. But yeah, so, lots of testing, which I think was just, precautions on the side of, the teams and the league, and with traveling and all that. So good to see there for sure. But yeah, that's sort of how the testing kind of broke down, I guess. Pretty much a couple tests when we got there, and then tests weekly after that point, once you were in the bubble.
Yeah, nice. I think that's obviously kind of the, I guess, the regular thing. Some are doing daily, bi-daily, depending on the sport. Bubble versus non-bubble, the testing protocols and procedures are a little bit different. It's great to have all of you guys on here to provide some insight into this thing. And we had NFL, CFL, NHL, and the MLS. We had three therapists on a week or so ago, and it's really nice to get the comparisons and see how things are being done. It really provides a lot of information and insight to practitioners, even if they're not sideline based at this point. If they're moving back into it, we have regular guests on here or audience members on here that provide feedback to me all the time. You know, they're in the university setting or the college setting, and this is crucial stuff, because you guys are, for lack of a scientific term, like the guinea pigs. You're showing everybody what works, what doesn't, and to come on here and share this stuff is fantastic. It really kind of opens the doors for everybody, opens people's eyes to what's going on, how it can be done. If it's going to be done, it needs to be thorough, you know, these kinds of things. Jamie, you're with Pacific FC, right? And still out there, right? Still out in Charlottetown?
Yeah, but
right.
we did lose our last game, so we know that we are going home on Wednesday.
Okay, so you have a terminal point at this point, but you're still there. You're still experiencing this whole thing. What were some of the key areas that you maybe monitored, if it's not giving away any secrets, monitored in terms of like this style of season? You know, this is like moving from, yeah, it's like we had Kelsey Marshall on, who's an AT, and she was in the Canadian Professional Basketball League, and it was like they condensed the season into like 2 or 3 weeks. So here you've condensed now a massive season into well, a massive undertaking for all of you for sure, but into a month. There's a whole bunch of extra games. There's a lot less time to recover. What were some of the things that you might monitor, or that everybody was monitoring during this time in the bubble, in terms of, yeah, like impact of the training load and these kinds of things?
Yeah, we use a heart rate monitor for our like heart rate recovery that they do in the mornings. And they also have a couple of screens. We have our COVID screening, but we also have just like a health check of just overall mentally, physically, how they're feeling. And we do that through a program called Kinduct. And then we also have our GPS, and that's something that we will track every day at practice and then in games, just to see like the variability. We've been tracking at least the heart rates since like last season. They're portable, so it's interesting. When they went home and we weren't allowed to see them every day, they still had their heart rate monitors and they can still check in, which I thought was very handy, because all of that stuff you just see face to face and you couldn't see them anymore. So yeah, we have both electronics that we use, and then some screens.
Yeah, so screening, regular communication would be one, certainly. So you have the tech, obviously the tech side that's doing some work. Do you feel like you're checking in like maybe a little bit more than normal with it being in this bubble and the condensed schedule? Or, I mean, you're pretty good with it and it was pretty regular?
Yeah, just being in the bubble, you are with these guys all the time. So the communication is really good. You see them in the morning, you take their temperature and you just check in, and it becomes kind of just like this routine, and you get really close to your players in that way because you just watch them every single day. And you see the progress as well. When they are injured, you see that really fast progress because they're with them.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You're not missing much, or if you are, then it's just that 1 hour of sleep that you were getting. I guess that's where you're only going to miss them. What's your staff like in terms of your team? Who traveled? How many therapists were with you and the squad that you're with?
I traveled with a physiotherapist as well, Brandon Watson. And then we do have a strength and conditioning coach and chiropractor, but they did not travel with us. Okay. Yeah, and that's what we have for medical is just Brandon and myself, but we also have 4 coaches, a manager, and a kit man. Okay,
nice. Very good. Let's wind our way back. I kind of doubled up on Jamie unknowingly there, but we'll double back and hit Derek. Coming back to you, man. You're back home now. What adjustments, looking at it now, sort of retrospectively, would you change anything about it in terms of sort of pre or prep or while you were there, in terms of your approach to care with athletes or the scheduling or anything that was controllable by you? Is there anything that jumps out to you that you might change?
Yeah, but there's always going to be stuff you think about, especially, leaving the tournament earlier than we wanted to.
Right.
There's always, reflection and looking at some of that stuff. But, off the top of my head, the scheduling, unfortunately, was pretty restricted in terms of, when we had access to certain places and facilities. But, you know, I think overall I was pleased with how it went. You know, just with, you know, the communication with the players and, you know, how we dealt with, you know, sort of our daily schedules and how things worked out. But, you know, haven't sort of same idea as everyone else who's at home, taking the week off a little bit here and then going to hop back into things next week. So myself and the other therapist who traveled will probably sit down and have some good discussions about things. So I'm sure there'll be some stuff that comes up then.
Yeah, and in the meantime, you can kind of just watch the stream or just stay on here on Zoom with all your buddies or new buddies or old buddies from the therapeutic side, the ones that are still there, and kind of coach them and encourage them along the way, man. It's amazing to kind of see how much time and dedication goes into this. And then again, like as I mentioned with Esteban, I had a little chat with him, but that transition back to life, are you struggling at all? Or you're okay? You're kind of happy to get back your feet on your ground. I mean, besides the fact that the team didn't do as well as maybe anticipated, but you're happy to be home and kind of get your feet back underneath you.
Yeah, it was nice for sure. You know, got a good greeting by my dog and wife at the airport, so that was always nice. And yeah, sort of just reintroducing myself back to the family this week, and then yeah, a little bit of work from home, and then sort of get back into things again coming up. But yeah, it was for sure. It was nice, you know, feeling like, you know, I could actually look out the window and go outside and go in my backyard and things like that, right? So that was nice for sure.
Yeah, nice, man. Well, I'm sure everybody's happy to have you back, you know, and we'll come back to you here in a minute with some more stuff about being in the bubble. Danielle, you're still there, and you touched on some really great points. I think like they're not to hammer on the fact that there's no perfect way to do this, but like what's gone really well in terms of, I mean, you guys talked about the communication and that interconnectedness of all the therapists and everything. Are there other things that you feel like, man, this is like way better than I thought it would be? I mean, other than like PEI, everybody's pretty friendly. I don't know if there's PEI staff or you're only dealing with your own people, but has there been a couple things that have stood out to you in terms of things that have gone well?
I'm just trying to kind of think big picture. The from our team perspective, I think what's gone really well is just kind of the attitude of the players. I think they've been a group that kind of get along really well, and they've been pretty resilient in their ability to just kind of, oh, okay, this is what's happening now. Okay, we're all right with that. So that's been, from our team perspective, something that's gone really well. They've been really resilient that way. I think the facility here, the hotel, was pretty great. It was a pretty great setup for what could be accomplished when you're not allowed to leave, to try to kind of find some spaces for us, some outdoor space, some team space, for a hotel gym. I mean, I've gone some places where it's a yoga mat and an ab roller,
Right.
So at least they had some pretty great equipment for them to use. And like Derek mentioned, it wasn't kind of free access because they did have to kind of have, one team at a time and then cleaning time and that, but there's been, pool and a hot tub and treadmills and stuff for staff to use too, and weight room and stuff. So, and it's some outdoor space for each team. So I think that's been pretty great, because when coming into this, I guess when I was picturing, what is this going to be like, I didn't really know if we'd have all our own outdoor space that we'd have access to all day and that kind of stuff. So I thought that has been kind of a really better than I would have expected, I guess. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. No, that's great. And great insight, the ability for athletes to adjust. I think that's like one thing we never give them credit for as like a generalization, or maybe we do, but we don't do it. I'm guilty of not giving them enough credit for that. They go through so much, the schedules are fairly rigid, and then you got to pivot and move around and do some things and navigate schedules and just kind of not get hung up on those details that sometimes you can't control. So for the most part, athletes do a great job of kind of just rolling with it, right? And just kind of taking what they can control and using that, but what they can't, you kind of just move on, right? So some great insight. Cristina, you're back in the Ottawa area, but looking back at sort of the field and the field usage, it was one consistent field, right? In terms of competition, or is one consistent field. It's a turf field, right? So obviously it held up. But was there any sort of like concerns with the field or anything that kind of stood out? It got eroded, it got worn out. This is much more usage than UPEI's soccer field is used to, for sure. Did you find anything with the field in terms of consideration? And
yeah, I mean, some of the feedback from the players, I mean, it depended on the day. A couple of guys were complaining they were getting their boots stuck in the turf a little bit, but the league was doing their best in terms of like having a watering machine going back and forth, like before games and stuff, to kind of keep the surface a little bit more moisturized, I guess. But yeah, no, from our perspective, it seemed okay. A little bit of I think a lot of the players from Europe tend to not love the turf situation in Canada, just overall.
Right.
A lot of them are more used to playing on grass anyways. So that's kind of the experience that we had with our players. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was terrible.
Right. No, I think it's fair, right? Like everybody's used to what they're used to, and then you go and that's always a thing, you know, like in I spent a lot of time in baseball, and those things could vary. Like mounds could be different heights. You could be facing east instead of facing west where the sun sits, all these other things. And we were out in PEI with when I was with York University. We went out there for the men's soccer championship and ended up I don't know if anybody's on your roster from that team, but I know Halifax, and then York 9 has Matthew Arnone, who won a championship. He scored a beautiful goal out of UPEI, so there's some overlap there. But a nice little place, but the field makes a difference, right? And if you're not used to training on it, then that becomes something else, either in the back of your mind or a very real thing, like you just can't control the ball, or the touch is different, or whatever. So good insight. Awesome. Appreciate that. Emily, with Forge FC, roster size, what were your rosters allowed to be within the CPL? And then how have you found sort of like, is the coaching staff or your personnel that you're working with from a medical standpoint advising on like greater usage of the percentage of that whole roster, or, you know, are the starters and it doesn't matter how that goes? I'm sure that's not the case, but what is your roster size, and how has usage been sort of spread out throughout the course of the tournament?
Yeah, so our roster size, we brought about 22 players.
Okay.
The coaches try and rotate, well, they do rotate the players up front quite often. Kind of our back core group is pretty regular. I guess it just depends on how the players are kind of doing throughout the tournament is how we've been pretty lucky. We do have 3 under, I think it's 20, 21 players on our roster. Unfortunately, one of them had a season-ending injury quite early on, so he wasn't able to finish the tournament. But yeah, we just kind of rotate depending on how the guys feel, but we've been pretty lucky.
Yeah, it definitely takes a little bit of that. Like, how many games have you guys played now?
I don't even know what day it is right now, let alone how many games we've played.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it doesn't have to be an exact number. I just think like there's been so many games in a month, you know, this is not what anybody is used to. So that roster usage question just sort of comes from like a consideration of I guess it's tactical. It's not really up to us as practitioners, but you know, how are you going to spread those minutes? And it's a big thing in you know, last year's championship run for the Raptors was very much on sort of body management and all this for Kawhi and that kind of stuff, and in terms of how they housed that with him. But anyway, yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, 22 for a month and a number of games in a short period of time and still going strong. So you're going to lose 1 or 2 along the way, definitely, just based off of overuse and then maybe some acute stuff. So how you make those adjustments, I'm sure, goes a long way too. So what does your staff look like in terms of making adjustments? There's you, and who else do you have with you?
It's just me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I am the only therapist on staff. We do have a strength and conditioning coach, but he does not come with us. So it's basically just the 3 coaches and a kit man and me. So it's been pretty busy, but
yeah. What year are you in with them?
This is my first year.
First year. Wow.
Yeah.
Just what a year to
Yep.
join, huh? You're right
Yeah.
in there, thrown into the fire, thrown to the
Yeah.
wolves. Well, congratulations. You're doing an amazing job. I'm sure the feedback is the same from all the staff and everybody that's out there, and winning a few games along the way definitely helps boost morale and keeps I'm sure keeps the guys rowing in the same direction too. So that's great, and appreciate you coming on. I know you're itching to get to bed, I'm sure, at some point, unless your NFL team's playing tonight. I don't know who that might be.
No.
Yeah. All right, perfect. Esteban, man, leading up to the tournament in terms of preparation, they talked about sort of phase 1, phase 2, how many athletes could be on the field, these kinds of things. What additional considerations were being used with York 9 or with athletes in general in consideration of prep for this bubble-style tournament?
The biggest thing for us was, well, after March, once this whole COVID thing started, we kind of wanted to keep the guys in some sort of level of fitness. So trying to, get them to do some sort of running on the fields or on the roads, which was not ideal, but we just had to keep them doing something. And same thing with that home strength conditioning program. And then once we kind of reintegrated into training, phase 1 was only 4, like we can only have 4 guys at a time slot. And so every single one was doing just individualistic stuff, stuff with cones, with balls, pretty much just on their own. And then phase 2, we kind of were able to have 10 people in, so we would do 2 groups. Not much contact really, like they would kind of stay within their little bubble. And then phase 3 was when we were able to finally have the whole squad in one time and just able to have like a full training session. And then by that point, we kind of started hearing back from the league that this thing was going to start happening. So things kind of started moving really quickly after that. So what we had to focus from that point on is just trying to get them as soccer fit as possible. Because like fitness wise, they were okay, but it's just soccer wise, touch on the ball, just like how they would play in a game. Just we had to really get them moving as quick as we could.
Yeah, and for sort of a combined, finesse sport, as well as like there's some power and strength housed within this, obviously, and quickness and all the things that are housed within soccer. There is a lot of touch, within the sport. So was that tough out of the gates to get them into gameplay? Were there a lot of touches
like
that were off and timing? Yeah.
The first, when they came back for the first phase, when there were only 4 people, we kind of started noticing that, the touch of the ball was still not there. Like their timing was a bit off. Some of them were able to do stuff at home because some of them had to buy turf and they just set it up in their basement. So they were doing some stuff. But we can tell that once they came back, like the touch on the ball was a little off. And then once we started integrating games and stuff like that, you can tell that the timing was off. So that took a bit of time to just get used to again, like for the guys just to get used to their positioning, right? Instead of just playing a small square.
Right. Yeah. No, all the things that you need to consider in terms of this. And now in sort of the space of training, strength and conditioning, rehab, all of these areas, we have to look at this for maybe not for you guys anymore, but now you're in sort of like this chronic dosage of activity. Most people are in this sort of detraining phase, and we need to really consider that for what we're implementing as we move athletes back towards, let's not call it normalcy, but like towards greater amounts of activity and dosage in terms of that. All right, let's flip the switches a little bit and go this way. Anybody who's still in the bubble, it's going to be your one thing that you're looking forward to when you leave the bubble. Anybody that is out of the bubble, the one thing that you miss about being in the bubble. Esteban, we're going to snake our way back, man, starting with you. One thing you miss about being in the bubble.
I think the one thing that I miss most of the bubble is probably just hanging out with the other therapists. And we had a good group from everybody. Like we all were able to at least hang out once a week, just to, kind of get away from the environment, because we're around our players, around our coaches, around soccer, basically 24/7. So that little hour, that 2 hours that we had between each other, like it was just a good time just to, relax and, talk about something else that's not soccer.
Nice. That's great. Emily, I don't know, I think you're off you've got a whole bunch of things. You got athletes running around, phone calls happening. You got all the things that everybody's doing. That's awesome. One thing you don't have to, if you don't want to, don't let me put you in an awkward spot, but one thing you're looking forward to at the end of this thing when you leave the bubble, is there one thing, or just like you're so dedicated in what you're doing right now, we don't even need to go there?
It's funny because it's like I'm kind of indifferent. I think a lot of them, I'm going to be taking a week off just to kind of recoup. but it's kind of nervous to go back to work. It's another change in the schedule to get back, get used to again. But I can't wait to see my dog.
Nah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. Very cool.
Yep.
Christina, how about you? One thing that you miss about the bubble?
The food. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, you gotta make your own now.
No, I'm kidding. So yeah, like Derek was mentioning, everything's kind of scheduled, so we didn't really have access to like the gym all the time, depending on when we were scheduled. Maybe it was super early, or maybe it overlapped with training or lunch, so we couldn't go. So I would start, each team was given like 2 stationary bikes for their squad rooms for guys to do, warm-ups or spinning. And I would actually bring ours out onto the patio. And our patio, we had a good spot. We overlooked the marina. So I'd drag, she was laughing because she saw me out there. We were neighbors. I would drag my stationary bike out on the patio and just like spin on there overlooking the marina. It was kind of nice. I miss that.
Nice. Very, very cool. Very cool. Danielle, how about you? One thing you're looking forward to at the other side here?
So I guess my boyfriend and I, our COVID gift to ourselves was stand-up paddle boards. So before we came, it's kind of July, we spent a lot of time. We live kind of just down the street from the ocean, so we spent a lot of time paddling. So I hope that the weather stays nice, so we can get a little bit of that in before the season's over.
Yeah, as long as it's not frozen, which I don't even know if it freezes, but as long as it's not, just call it nice enough and get out there. That's awesome. That's great. And I wish you all the best. I would not even try standing up on one of those things. So we'll just Derek, how about you, man? One thing you miss. Esteban says he misses you. Do you miss him? Is that a relationship or no?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was great
about the bubble. Yeah,
it was great to meet up with the therapists, once a week or more, and just sort of chat about things and, have some similarities and get away from the sport a little bit. But then at the same time, it's also, it was a cool situation to be in where you're always in the sport and that tournament style play, it was for sure fun. And, it was cool because, you play one game and, you got a game in 3 days, whereas normally you'd have to wait a full week. So it's, a lot of excitement very quick. So it's a little bit different going from that fast-paced environment coming out of it. And I'm someone who likes that kind of environment, that fast pace and lots going on. So for sure, kind of miss that a bit, but it's also nice being at home. So.
Yeah, nice. I think it's interesting, it's just, it's like taking a pro schedule and making it amateur again. You know what I mean? Like taking a pro schedule where things can be very separated and lots of time in between and condensing it into like this, let's play a whole bunch of games in a week like we used to when we were kids, but our bodies no longer adjust that way like we did when we were kids. So cool, kind of a cool experiment. Maybe not so much for some of the guys that got hurt and banged up with that scenario. I hope not too many did, but that's awesome. And Jamie, I know you're at the back end, so you and Esteban are sandwiching this thing, so there's a long time for you to think about this. But one thing that you're looking forward to when you get out of there?
A nice home cooked meal, and then just riding my mountain bike.
Beautiful.
Probably just get lost in the woods for about a week.
Yeah, just ride that thing, start heading back, see how far you can make it back towards PEI, or just go the opposite way and just start going somewhere else. Been there long enough. Awesome. Listen, again, this is First Star Let's Chat session 38, an athletic therapy roundtable, sharing the space with different practitioners, different backgrounds, different parts of the country, different ideas, different outlooks and perspectives. This goes a long way in just sort of opening people's eyes to other considerations. And I don't mean to make you miss home or make you miss the bubble, but I think these are important considerations when we're talking about how athletes are coping, but more importantly, like how therapists are coping, on this call, how we manage ourselves and how we manage our load management, that's a catchy term, how we manage that while we're completely immersed, right? And I sincerely hope that you guys had that opportunity to take some time for yourself and reflect on that. And that's one thing that I'm working on now since moving out of the professional sports space and trying to build that support outwards for people to really understand that taking care of yourself is still crucial, to helping other people. And I hope that, it sounds like you guys had a great relationship to bat things around and get outside or either ride a bike or or drink a beer or something like that, and just kind of like talk about how things were going. So that's fantastic. In terms of resources, things that you're reading, things that you're not reading, I'll throw this one out there, and anybody who wants to jump in, we'll go in the middle, maybe. I don't know. Let's do it this way. It's going to be too crazy with 6 of us. But Danielle, is there one book that you're reading that's let's say non-soccer related, non-therapeutic related? Are you a big reader or no?
Yeah, I love to read, but while I've been here, I would say I've read nothing work related at all, and reading has kind of been my for me kind of thing. So I brought a couple books with me and got through those pretty quickly, and then they had left some books in the team rooms for us, so I kind of went on to one of those as well. So I read The Huntress while I was here. I don't know if anyone reads fiction or anything like that, but I actually really enjoyed that. So that was kind of nice. My mental health break was reading when I first got here, so that was really good.
Nice. Cristina, how about you? Did you take any resources with you in terms of textbooks or in terms of anything Scotty says or something like this? I just feel like I keep his quotes in my pocket sometimes and just look at them. But anything you kept with you while you were out there?
So I didn't, and the reason was because in my downtime I was actually completing some of my residency requirements for my sports chiro. It's no
longer downtime, by the way. That doesn't count as downtime. Yeah.
Exactly. So I was finishing up my lit review and a case report that I was writing with a colleague. So my downtime was doing that.
All right. Derek, how about you, man? You're doing your MSc, right? And you're working on some concussion stuff, post-concussive stuff, and balance. Like, I feel like this is crucial stuff. Were you working on this while you were there as well?
Yeah, for sure. Doing a little bit of it, depending on the day. Some days I could have the mental, we'll call it the mental capacity to make sure I did some work on that at the end of the day. But usually if I was doing any reading, it would be associated with anything new coming out in that area, just to make sure I'm staying up to date with that, to make sure, if I needed to make any adjustments to my research or, and things like that. So.
Okay. Nice. Well, I hope now you can turn on Netflix and I don't know, do a thing, just watch one of those shows that you heard so much about. Emily, you're still there, and I know you got a bunch of people buzzing around, but is Netflix a thing that you make time for or no?
No, I haven't been able to watch anything or really read. It's my downtime is trying to go to the gym or spending some time outside.
Yeah, nice, awesome. And then again, just hang up the phone whenever you need to, or hang up the call, because this is another hour of let's call this downtime, because this is hanging out and chatting. But just I ask this question on a regular basis just to see, maybe there's a great book, The Huntress. I can pick that one up for sure. And then, what are people doing to sort of keep their sanity in these spaces? I spent a long time in baseball, and those were hours that were, nothing shy of 9-hour day. And typically, sort of 11 to 14 hours at the field, and off hours to what our families are doing, or people that we talk to on a regular basis. The hours are sort of a little bit opposite, and sometimes finding some stuff outside of that is Jamie, is there anything that you've done out there that you might not have been doing if you were at home, like with your downtime, or no? You jump into anything?
Yeah, I rode a lot of the stationary bike that we have.
Nice.
But yeah, I was like Danielle, I like to read, and I brought my Kindle full of books. I even was super excited, got a couple, and then I haven't read a lot. I even had a friend send me a book in the mail.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really funny, and wrote a card and stuff like that. But yeah, not a lot of time too. So. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you. What's the name of that one?
It's actually The Bone Cage by Angie Abdu.
Yeah, I heard about this one.
Yeah, and he thought I would really like it, and so far I've read maybe 5 or 6 pages.
Yeah. Did you like those 6 pages or no?
Yeah, I really like it, and this is a close friend, and I'm excited to read it. Probably on the plane home will be a good time.
or not. Just wait until you get some downtime, and then you can just kind of camp out with it. I mean, it does have the bone in it, so that's good because you're a therapist and you work with those on some kids. So maybe that's a thing. I don't know. Esteban, how about you, man? Are you back into Netflix now that you're home? We started out with this, the first, like, I think, like 20 episodes or sessions of this Let's Chat platform. I asked every guest, did you watch, I can't even, what's the name of that? Tiger King? Tiger King? Is that what it's called? Yeah, Tiger King on Netflix.
Never really got into that.
Okay, yeah. But have you found Netflix since you've been home, or no? You're just out
Actually,
there running?
no. As soon as I got home, what I tried doing is just getting out of the house. Like, I was kind of tired just being locked up in one place. So as soon as I got back, me and my fiance just kind of just started going on like little tours of like little cities, or going up north and, you know, exploring, going to trails, stuff like that. Just trying to be a little active and, you know, getting out of the house as much as I can before things start getting crazy again.
Yeah, no, awesome. Emily just messaged and she had to step away, so a busy one over there for Hamilton, I guess, as things for Forge as they move forward here. But I really appreciate her time and all of you being on here. Let's go with one more question. It's about 5 minutes to the hour here, and then maybe 5 minutes if people have questions that are on here live. Feel free to type them in, and I'll filter those over. But we'll just go Esteban and work our way back one more time. Any advice you would give in people who haven't returned to sport yet from a therapeutic side of things? One or two little tidbits that you would advise in terms of things you might want to look out for, or things you haven't thought about, or just simple things like wash your hands and just report your symptoms, like just anything that comes to mind. Go ahead, Esteban.
I think the biggest thing for like a lot of practitioners is that since we weren't able to work for a long time, a lot of us are going to be just wanting to rush back into things. So I think one of the big things is just making sure you're taking care of yourself first before you try taking care of someone else. So making sure you're in a safe, healthy environment sort of thing. So making sure, you know, you're keeping a mask on, sanitizer with you all the time, having a Kleenex. Because a lot of us will just want to rush into things as quickly as you can because we miss working with athletes and all that stuff. But just got to make sure that there's some sort of protocols going in with the teams that you're going back. So that way there's a safe environment not only for yourself, but everyone else around.
Yeah, no, great points, man. And you've lived it. Now you're back and you're slowly establishing that back into your regular life. So appreciate that. Cristina, how about you? Emily's gone. Again, Emily Coleman with Forge FC is took off. She's an athletic therapist. She's solo. So I'm sure she's doing about 19 different jobs right now in terms of what she's on the hook for. But Cristina, how about you? Any advice for people making their way back in?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo what Esteban said, like really important to take care of yourself. And I would also, I think what we did a really great job of doing as the therapy group was, you know, advocating for our athletes and making sure that, you know, from a league perspective, that the league was taking care of the athletes' health and safety needs. So making sure that, you know, your employer, your teams or your leagues have the proper protocols in place to keep you safe and for your athletes as well.
Awesome. No, great insight. And I think that's huge, right? Like we get to have these conversations with coaches and we get to be relied upon for a lot of things. And one of those things is definitely to advocate for that downtime and what athletes actually need and playing that middle ground a little bit and being that advocate for sure, 100% of the time, good, bad, or otherwise. So that's a great piece of advice. Danielle, how about you?
I think for us, what was a really big thing is we have a really great strength and conditioning coach that we work with, Jeremy Steinbach, and he it was what I think we did before. Do you know what I mean? When we were off, that really kind of made sure that the guys were ready body wise to kind of take on a load like this. So for, you know, people getting ready to go back, just making sure that you're just not flying in full tilt without making sure that you have the foundation, so that if you are off and waiting that using that time and making sure that you're, you know, getting the load that you need to then be able to take on that you know, competitive load. I think that was a really important piece and nice to have the kind of, you know, here he's not here, but we're in touch by email and we use Team Builder and that kind of stuff. So just kind of, you know, communicating with the whole kind of injury prevention team, maybe not, you know, a therapist, but whether it's, you know, high performance managers or strength and conditioning coaches, and kind of everybody working together on making sure everybody's ready when they come back.
Yeah, no, a fantastic insight. And that sort of mentality of not making up for lost time. You know what I mean? Like not waiting until you get to the bubble to get ready. And this used to be a thing in many sports and still is in some. is they wait until that preseason to start getting in shape, and guilty as charged. Like baseball was notorious for this, is using spring training to get back into shape until sort of, maybe 10, 15 years ago, when now there's a little bit more sports science, a little bit more dialogue, but that's huge, especially for what you guys are going through right now. And I hope that as practitioners on here, everybody listening and picking this up also echoes that in their own life. You know what I mean? And not trying to overdo and do everything at all times, because it takes a lot to step back and sort of identify that, I need to take care of a few things for me before I can be at my best and helping other people. So Derek, how about you, man? Any advice for therapists or people in this world working their way back towards sport?
Yeah, like for sure, just, echoing some of the stuff that the others have mentioned, but just, really checking in with your athletes and seeing how they're feeling, right? Especially as you come back in to play, right? Like, there's obviously going to be some anxiety and fears associated with the pandemic itself. So making sure that, you're the league or the team has the protocols in place to keep the players and staff feeling safe will help a lot with that. And then if they have any concerns, making sure that you're sort of that middle person. And then also, just really checking in with how they're doing, how they're feeling. So whether that's through wellness surveys or just talking to them daily, especially during that preseason or like ramp up period, right? Because kind of like it's been said, we try to maintain our players' fitness as much as we could during the time when we were separated. But there's a difference between, doing HIIT workouts and then putting on, 10 to 12 kilometers on the field during a game, right? So just really, making sure that that process of transitioning is done safely. So making sure that you're talking with your players. You can have a plan in place, but it still ultimately comes down to how they're feeling and whether or not they're able to handle it. Yeah,
absolutely. Some amazing insight and really rich in terms of like across the board from each of you taking your time here. Jamie, you're let's finish this one off in terms of anything you'd advise with this return and bubble or non-bubble, like some insight from your end.
I think that one of the things that as a club we did really well was we had just a written protocol just for all of our players, getting back to practice, but even just in day-to-day life on how to socially isolate and socially distance, and just talking and communicating with your team as well, with all the staff. I think that was a really big success on, going back to play. Because it makes it easy that, it becomes a part of a way of life of wearing a mask, having hand sanitizer, that then they can come onto the field and not worry. And just, I think also just to keep on the mental health of your players. This is such an unknown thing. And a lot of these players, they're coming from outside of, Victoria, where we're from. And that was really important to our team, is that we made sure that everyone was doing well, because being, isolated is hard. And I think that's really important for this pandemic that we're going through, is to make sure that everyone's doing okay.
Absolutely. And those check-ins on colleagues and on family members and athletes, and hopefully to have, one or two people that can check in on you too, in terms of really looking in and dialing into how you're doing and how we're holding up as therapists in this and as human beings in this whole thing. So, I mean, it's a bizarre time, obviously, but making sure that everybody has somebody to check in on, and the strong silent types are sometimes the ones that are struggling the most. So really, knowing your players and understanding that communicative piece is massive to getting the insight that we need. This has been fantastic. Lots of stuff. I wish we could do this for 3 hours, but I know you guys are all gassed, exhausted. Some of you are still out there. We're just waiting to get to bed. This has been session 38 of First Star Let's Chat and Athletic Therapy Roundtable. Again, 10% of all memberships for CEUs will go towards the Puck Support Foundation up until the end of September. That's Brady Leopold. He was our session 37 guest last week. His foundation is geared towards some of the things that we've touched on here: addiction and mental health in the sporting realm, and finding support networks for people when they leave sport, and finding support on that end. So that can be you can register for that membership through firststartherapy.com under courses. Also along the lines of self-care, I have been lucky enough to put together like a self-care retreat, a workshop for practitioners, hosting that from September 24th to 26th at the Nottawasaga Resort and Inn, just outside of Toronto here. And I'd love to just say, anybody who's in the CPL that's been caring for people, just come on over to this thing and hang out for 2 days. We do a lot of like physical yoga, meditation, joint care, strength and conditioning, build this all into an integrative approach to really look at what can I do for me to make myself to reach and maximize my potential as a human being first, so that then that can be rippled and outward into my immediate community, whether that's, you know, professional athletes or human beings that are seeing me in a clinic. So anyway, those things are all really, really crucial topics. You guys have opened the doors to a lot of different things. I hope to have you on again, and Esteban, Clavijo with York 9 FC, Emily Coleman, who had to go and care for Forge FC, Cristina, Leornardelli with Atletico, Ottawa, amazing stuff. Derek McLennan with Valour FC, Danielle McNally with the Halifax Wanderers, and Jamie Neill with Pacific FC. This has been fantastic. CPL bubble panel. You guys nailed this thing, and just really appreciate you guys taking the time to be here. Your insight, whether it's you know, directly related to what people are doing or not, it goes a long way in opening doors for people to know who you are and what's going on out there in the world of care for performance. So really appreciate it. I'll wish you guys, I didn't have any questions coming in here from the audience. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to hang out here for 5 minutes, and I'll get these over to people if you wish. But let's let these practitioners go on their way, get back to your life, your hotel, and please take care of yourselves, take care of each other. And again, really appreciate you guys being on here tonight. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, James.
Thanks, James. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, James.
Thanks.
Thanks again for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of this community. Check us out online, firststartherapy.com. That's FIRSTAR therapy.com. Or email us with feedback, consult@firststartherapy.com, CONSULT@firststartherapy.com, on Instagram @firststar.therapy, and our podcast host @letschat.at. This is First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast.